A federal judge blocks Donald Trump on birthright citizenship. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, look, this is the heart and soul of Donald Trump's attempt to not just secure the border, but to ultimately end the invasion of our country by a relentless, unlimited wave of illegal immigration. And that is the executive order. He signed many executive orders, as you know, putting, 1,500 troops now on our southern border, declaring a national emergency on our southern border, reinstituting Remain in Mexico, which was immensely effective under his first term. That is now back, ending catch and release. They are now, by the way, beginning mass deportations. Boston was the area of a major raid by ICE. I'm going to get to that a little bit later, but it's not just Boston now. They're happening in Chicago, in New York, in Atlanta, in Los Angeles, in Dallas, in Houston. It is now happening all across the country. Criminal, illegal aliens, by the hundreds and hundreds, and soon by the thousands and thousands, are going to be deported. Already some are being deported. Many more are on the way. So, as I talk to you now, Donald Trump already, just to show you the blistering pace that he has now set, this blitz of executive orders. Remember, under FDR, he set the benchmark of the first 100 days. People now are talking about Trump establishing a new benchmark, an incredible warp speed benchmark of 100 hours. That's how much he's done in the first 4 days of his presidency since he was inaugurated on Monday, sworn into office. At the heart and soul of his executive orders, to show you how serious he is about ending this onslaught and invasion of illegal immigration that has plagued our country now for over 40 to 50 years. He signed an executive order ending what's called birthright citizenship, or more popularly known as anchor babies. And that is the policy that, by the way, has just been informally accepted. People just assume that they read the 14th Amendment, this is what it's based on, that if you happen to be in the United States, even if you come here illegally, even if you're just here on a tourist visa, you're here for a vacation for 1 week, and plop, out comes a baby, that this baby is automatically conferred instant U.S. citizenship. Donald Trump now says no. He issued an executive order called Returning or Restoring Meaning and Value to American Citizenship, in which his executive order, you got to listen to this now, explicitly says that if a woman who is here in this country illegally, so say some woman from Mexico, I'm just going to use Mexico as an example, 9 months pregnant, just crawls over the border and has a baby on American soil, if the father is not an American citizen or not a lawful permanent resident of the United States, that baby does not get automatic citizenship. That baby will be considered a citizen, I'm just using Mexico, as the citizen of Mexico. Furthermore, to stop the wave, and it is a wave, it's a complete abuse of our immigration laws and of the so-called interpretation, or to me, misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment. There is something called birth tourism that has been running rampant now for decades. In fact, it's getting worse. This is where people from all over the world, from China, from Iran, from Saudi Arabia, from Mother Russia, take your pick, literally come to the United States. They even time it 9 months pregnant, they come, they stay at a local hotel, boom, the baby's about to come, they go to a hospital, plop, out comes the baby, and there's an American citizen. And this is being done all over the country again and again and again. Donald Trump now says, even if you're here legally, but on a temporary visa, meaning, for example, you're here as a tourist, you're here just on a vacation, a tourist visa, you got permission to be here for a week or two. No, unless the father is an American citizen or a lawful permanent resident, the baby will not be conferred automatic citizenship. That baby is a citizen of China or Saudi Arabia or Russia or whatever home jurisdiction, home country they come from. Now, my friends, why is this so critical? Because this practice of anchor babies, of quote-unquote birthright citizenship, is the heart and soul of open borders globalism. This is what the ACLU, what George Soros, what all of these open borders, cheap labor lobbies have been telling people from all over the world. Bring your women with you. Make sure they're pregnant and have them have the baby on American soil. This way, the baby is automatically an American citizen. You as the parents will then get to stay because we don't want to quote unquote separate families. And so the illegal parents get to stay because their child is now an American citizen. Plus, through the baby, that's where they're given unlimited welfare, free housing, Section 8, free health care, free education, welfare, as I said, EBT, you name it, across the board. That's where they get their phones, their iPads. That's what's literally bankrupting the United States. It is straining our social services to the breaking point. And so Trump now says, you really, look, we can protect the border till the cows come home, and we can deport millions. But if people still believe that there is something called universal citizenship, that just by the fact that you come on this soil and land, no matter how illegally you got here, shazam, you have a baby, the baby's an American, just as American as Donald Trump, with all the rights, say, of the President of the United States, and the parent or parents get to stay. It's never going to end. It's literally never going to end. It's a suicide pact. And that's one of my arguments why I say they're completely misreading deliberately the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is not a suicide pact. The Constitution is not a suicide pact. The moment Trump issued his executive order, the media went apoplectic is not the word. They know this is the heart and soul of their globalist open borders regime. If Trump now can get a proper definition of the 14th Amendment and end this fallacy, this fantasy, this misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment, then they realize it's over. And so 22 attorneys general from blue states, plus the city of San Francisco, plus the ACLU. Now the ACLU goes to court. Notice, they didn't go to court during the lockdowns. They didn't go to court over the vaccine mandate. They didn't go to court when they were closing down churches and businesses and schools and shutting everything down. Then, when you needed them, they were nowhere to be seen. But to benefit criminal, illegal foreigners, lawbreakers, people who come into our country illegally and abuse our generosity, there they are, leading the charge, baby. So, they immediately sued. It is now the mother of all lawsuits. It went to a judge in Seattle. The judge in Seattle, Shazam, what did you expect? Said, this is the most unconstitutional executive order he has ever seen. He has now temporarily blocked Trump's order for 14 days. But he says he wants to make a permanent injunction, a permanent ban against Trump's order. He wants to strangle this in the cradle. Listen to Trump's response. He's not deterred. He said, I want to appeal this all the way to the Supreme Court if I have to. Roll cut 11. Mike.
Mr. President, a U.S. judge temporarily blocks the birthright citizenship order. Do you have any reaction?
No, obviously we'll appeal it. They put it before a certain judge in Seattle, I guess, right? And there's no surprises with that judge.
I agree with him. I mean, it was so obvious. So they went judge shopping. They got the judge that they wanted. And now they're trying to block his executive order. Trump, as I said, unbowed, wants to go all the way to the high court. Do you support birthright citizenship? Your calls next. 620 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is a galactic battle. There's no other way to put it. Donald Trump now has thrown down the gauntlet. He is not just stopping Biden's border invasion. God bless him. He's not just deporting illegals. God bless him. He's not just reinstituting Remain in Mexico. God bless him. And putting troops on the border and completing the border wall. God bless him. He's now going to topple or try to topple the entire open borders, unlimited illegal immigration regime. And that regime is based on what they claim is the right interpretation of the 14th Amendment. That's where they allow the practice of anchor babies and birth tourism to take place. I say it's the misinterpretation, but this is why now for decade after decade after decade, they keep allowing illegals to come into our country, and then boom, they have a baby, and suddenly that baby's an automatic American citizen, conferred automatic American citizenship. Or they travel, they go to Florida, the wife or girlfriend or whatever is 9 months pregnant, and they stay at a hospital, and boom, out comes the baby. The baby now is an American citizen. So, let me just ask all of you, before we even get to the constitutional issue at heart, as a matter of policy, do you support what's called birthright citizenship, i.e. commonly known as anchor babies? Should people who come to our country illegally, who have a baby, should that baby be then conferred all of the privileges and rights of an American citizen? Should people who just visit our country, say as tourists, or they're here on a temporary work visa, and out comes a baby, should they then, should their child then be a citizen, and should they be allowed to stay as a result? Now, I say this is insane. Now, one of the reasons is not just that it's happening and it's being abused, and it's inviting the entire world to come to our country, but as I say to liberals and these neoconservatives who support this, like the Wall Street Journal editorial page, name me one other country in the world, literally just one. I don't care. First world, second world, third world, European country, Asian country, Latin American country, Western country, non-Western country. Name me one other country in the world that if you go to that country illegally and your wife or girlfriend, whatever, has a baby, that suddenly you're a citizen of that country. You won't find one. I'm telling you, you won't find one. Go to France on a vacation. Your wife or girlfriend has a baby. You're not a French citizen. Go to Norway, you're not Norwegian. Go to Russia, you're not Russian. Every country, it doesn't matter. Go to Canada. No, they don't give birthright citizenship. So only we in the United States do it. It's madness, it's insanity. Now, they always use this line from the 14th Amendment, okay? In fact, let me read it the way the liberals read it. And then I'm going to read the actual clause itself. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, this is what the ACLU, for example, that's when they send their hacks on the air, say on CNN or MSNBC or whatever, or many Democrats will come out and say, well, the 14th Amendment is very clear. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States. This is open. It's open and shut case. No. Let me tell you what it actually says. You're leaving out a very important clause. And that clause is everything. Please pay attention. Quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That's the key clause. Are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. And as Trump and his lawyers, and he's got an army now of constitutional lawyers, are saying that's the key clause that everyone has been deliberately forgetting or omitting. Because what that clause is going to show is that clearly the intent of the 14th Amendment wasn't just to extend citizenship to any illegal or any foreigner or any tourist or anybody who just happens to have a baby on American soil. The 14th Amendment, as everybody knows, was created right after the Civil War to deal with the issue of the freed slaves who were denied citizenship because they were black, of African descent, and were enslaved in the South. It was never meant for illegal aliens or for immigration purposes or to apply to tourists or the whole world. Your reaction next. 6:30 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Okay, President Trump now seeks to restrict and actually end what's known as birthright citizenship, commonly known as anchor babies, and birth tourism. And he's already being sued. 22 attorneys general, all Democrats from blue states. Even cities are getting involved, like San Francisco. And, of course, the ACLU is leading the charge. Already, they went judge shopping. And yesterday, yep, the judge, it barely, literally, the ink was barely dry on Trump's executive order. And boom, the judge has already blocked it. Trump says he's going to appeal. My question to you, this is now the heart and soul of the matter. Should people who come into our country illegally or they're tourists, should they be allowed to have their children here and the children be conferred with automatic American citizenship? I say it's insane, it's wrong, it's immoral, it's ultimately illegal and unconstitutional, and I hope the High Court, the Supreme Court, takes up this executive order and finally rules on this issue decisively and definitively. But that's me. I want to hear from you. Should illegals who have children in America, should their children be given automatic citizenship? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go to Sean in Kentucky. Thanks for holding, Sean, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon, Sean.
Hey,
what do you make of this, Sean? Are you in favor of what Trump did, or are you against it?
so I am in favor of it. The only thing that I have issue with is the fact that they are leaning on the jurisdiction part, because I know that the jurisdiction part of the amendment, because I know that there have been court cases in the past where they've essentially said that, well, if you're in the United States, you're subject to the United States laws, so therefore you're under the jurisdiction. That's been the left's argument. But there seems to be, from both sides, an ignoring of the reside portion. So, I mean, most people would commonly think that reside means you live somewhere. So when it comes to, anchor babies or birth tourism, you're just here. You're not actually residing here. You're not living here. I could see why the 14th Amendment could be an argument for, say, the Dreamers, because their situation or circumstance is quite similar to why it was even created in the first place, which was to protect the African American slaves that were freed and had lived here their whole lives and likely for multiple generations. But it is specific that you need to have already resided here in the United States in order to be a citizen.
Oh, I think you're dead on. I think you're absolutely dead on. And look, Sean, there's so much dishonesty that is being pushed by the media and the left on this issue. It's really stunning. For example, the left says, oh, well, this has been, Supreme Court precedent. Oh, this has been already settled by the Supreme Court for over a century. That's a lie. I'm telling you, it's a blatant lie. The Supreme Court has never, ever in the last century ruled on whether illegal aliens who have children, that their children should be given automatic U.S. citizenship. They have never ruled on the issue. It's a complete lie. So there is no quote-unquote Supreme Court precedent. No. They just began, it's happened about really 40, 50 years ago. They just began to assume that this was the interpretation. And nobody had the guts to challenge it. Look, Sean, just to give you an example, okay? In the 1920s, okay, now we're talking 100 years ago, there was a huge guest worker program here in America. And millions of Mexicans came to the United States. Now, we're not talking illegal. They're legal. They're completely legal. But they're guest workers, meaning, you're going to be here for 3 years or 5 years or whatever. You're going to work. And after the program ends, you're expected to go back. Many of those Mexicans who came had children while they were here. Now, when the Great Depression hit, the Congress got rid of this guest worker program, saying we don't have enough jobs for our own people, never mind for, for foreigners like, from Mexico. So every single Mexican in that guest worker program was repatriated. They were all sent back. Okay? All sent back. Including their children. And the reason why their children were sent back, because it never occurred to anyone, now we're talking 1930s, to say, oh, well, 14th Amendment, they were born in the United States, hence they're subject to the jurisdiction of America, hence they're American citizens. Because everybody properly understood, A, as you put it, you have to be a resident, a real permanent resident of the United States. B, this was meant to give full citizenship and rights to the freed slaves after the Civil War. Remember, the amendment is written in 1868. Duh. To all the libs out there. Duh. 3 years after the Civil War. Hello. Right after the 1866 Civil Rights Act. So the intent of the framers of the 14th Amendment, and that's what I mean. That's why I think if this goes to the Supreme Court, Trump's going to win. It was never intended to apply to immigrants in general. But never mind illegals or people here on temporary visas or tourists who are citizens of other countries and are just here for a week or two to have a good time. So it was always assumed, like any other country in the world. Here, Sean, you decide to go to England just for the hell of it, okay? You and your better half. And your better half is, 8.5 months pregnant. Don't worry, honey. We'll just be there for a few weeks. By the time we get back to Kentucky, we'll have the baby. Oops. You're in London. You're out looking at Buckingham Palace. Sean, it's kicking. You're kidding. No, I think my water broke, Sean. No. Yeah. Okay, you go to the hospital in London. Your wife has a baby on British soil. You think Britain just says, hey, Sean, welcome to the ancestral homeland. Welcome to the original motherland. Your child now is British. No. I say you're crazy. Your child's an American. Happened to be born in a London hospital. We'll take care of your baby, obviously. We don't want the baby to die. But when it's time for you to go back on British Airways in a week or 10 days, you're taking your baby with you and have a nice life. Your baby's not a British citizen. Only in this country, under the perverse reading and misinterpretation, the perversion of the 14th Amendment, do we have this where people come here sometimes literally for a day? Like, think of their logic. You're on a layover. You're traveling, say, to Japan from Europe. You're pregnant. You have premature delivery. You land in Seattle or you land in San Francisco for a layover. And all of a sudden now, on your way to Japan, you have a baby. Your baby now is an American citizen? I mean, just hello? Like, just common sense. Sean, agree, disagree, final word to you.
I totally agree with what you're saying. And one of the things that's also interesting when you draw the European comparisons is, for my job, I travel to Germany quite often. And when you go to Germany, everything is in German. Everybody is German. But it's very difficult to find someone that doesn't speak English. They all speak English. They all start learning English whenever they're quite young. However, if I were to try to become a German citizen, it would be required that I would take a test and prove that I can speak German. So, again, we like to the left likes to pick and choose, what portions of our European friends are good or bad. But most European countries wouldn't even let you become a citizen if you can't speak their language.
You're dead on. In fact, many European countries, they're loosening it now a little bit, but many European countries, you have to prove not only that you can speak the language, but in many cases, there's a nationality or an ethnicity requirement. In other words, Sean, is your mother of German ancestry? Or is your father of German ancestry? For many decades after World War II, if you did not have a German name or you can prove a German lineage or German ancestry, then you were just given guest worker status. And that's, by the way, that was the deal with the Turks. There were many Turkish workers who worked in Germany, some of them for 3 generations, literally 3 generations. So, the grandfather comes, he works, not a German citizen, a resident on a visa, a work visa, guest worker program, but not a citizen, has a child in Germany. Same thing, worker, and then that child has another child. Still, you're not German. Now, the Turks really resent that it was a big issue with Turkey. So what I'm saying is, even some European countries, if you're not you don't show an ethnic or national lineage, they still won't give you citizenship. But you're right. At a minimum, you have to speak the language. Sean, excellent call, excellent points. 617-266-6868 is the number. Trump says it's time to end anchor babies. The left says they're taking him to court. Who do you side with? 649 on the great WRKO. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, forgive me, Kuhner Country, I'm battling a bit of a cold, so I got a bit of a scratchy throat, so forgive me about that. But anyway, so look, very, very heated debate. The left is going bananas. You even have many establishment Republicans, many neoconservatives, who also support open borders and massive unlimited immigration into the country, who love this interpretation of the 14th Amendment about anchor babies and birth tourism. So, my question to you, should we continue the practice of anchor babies? If an illegal alien comes into our country, say, and this is very common, MS-13. It's not just men, it's women. They have a lot of women who work in MS-13. Human traffickers, drug traffickers, you name it. They bring in weapons, and when they're here, they have children. Their children, over the last 30, 40 years, have been conferred automatic U.S. citizenship. And in fact, it's a way that the drug traffickers and the gangs use to exploit our loopholes in our immigration law. They have these children on American soil. They become American citizens. And then they say, well, you don't want to separate parents from children. So the rights that are conferred upon the child are automatically then extended to mommy and daddy. And that's why many of them also collect, I'm not kidding, welfare, Section 8, public housing, free health care, EBT cards, everything under the sun, you name it. And so that's why it becomes hard to get rid of them, because they have children. They go, well, you're not going to separate me from my child, are you? So should we have the practice of anchor babies? Furthermore, and many in Florida, many in California, I can't tell you how many emails, text messages, messages on Messenger that I get. Jeff, I work in a hospital. Jeff, I work in the tourism industry. They come from China. They come from the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates. It's a deliberate policy. They come when their wives are usually about 9 months pregnant. They stay for a couple of weeks. Bang, they deliberately have the baby in an American hospital. The baby is given American citizenship. They fly right back. Because then they know with their child, they can come to the United States at will. And then because their child's an American citizen, they can stay anytime they want and get all of the rights, privileges, and benefits of an American citizen. And as I said, the term is called literally birth tourism. And millions have used this to falsely, deceptively have citizenship conferred upon their children. No other country, forget the world, in the history of the world, has allowed this. We do. It's suicide. And Trump says it has to end. He signed an executive order protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship. It's already being challenged by Democrats, and already a judge has blocked it. Trump says he's going to appeal. Hopefully the Supreme Court will take it up. So my question to you, should illegals have the right to have children in America who then become automatic Americans? I say it's insane. What say you? Lines are jammed. Natalie in Lunenburg. Thanks for holding, Natalie, and welcome.
I want to give you my condolences on the loss of your father, too.
Thank you.
You know, we're like family here, Kuhner Country in the morning. So when that hits you, it hits us all. And I just want to let you know that we all support you in that way.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie.
I do agree with you, Jeff, that whole concept of what you just laid out is absurd. That wasn't the intent. It's obviously the intent that the amendment was that to protect the rights of formerly enslaved people to be citizens, because, that was a no-brainer. Professor Kuhner, could you tell me, did that also apply to Native Americans, or did that come later?
No, that's a brilliant question. No, that's the other thing. Look, there's a Supreme Court case about maybe 20 years. It's called Elk versus Wilkins. 1884. Don't quote me on that. It could be 83, 85, but it was about 16, 17 years after the 14th Amendment was ratified, 1868, in which literally the question was, well, Native American Indians, are they U.S. citizens? And at the time, the Supreme Court ruled no, based on the 14th Amendment, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Why? Because Native American Indians were part of they were on a tribal reservation. And so the argument was, they're a member of that tribe. They're a member of that tribal or that tribal reservation. And so their full allegiance is to their tribe and to their reservation. It is not, and the tribes had basically semi-sovereignty on their land. So they said no, they were not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So even though they were born on American soil, they were excluded from U.S. citizenship. Now, eventually, about 25 years after that, so we're talking about early 1900s, Congress passed a law, the Naturalization Act, which said, no. Native American Indians, if they're born on American soil, obviously, they are American citizens. But just to show you how even the Supreme Court initially took it, forget illegals, forget, immigrants, touring the country. Even Native Americans, for about a good 30, 40 years after the 14th Amendment, said, well, no, they're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, meaning they're not born in America and they owe full allegiance to America. If you're born in a separate country, or your parents are born in a separate country, and you're just traveling in the United States, and you happen to have a child, the Supreme Court ruled repeatedly, well, no, your allegiance is to the country you're from. It's not to America. So your child is obviously a citizen of the country you're from, not a citizen of the United States. So for a long time, even Native Americans, no matter how often they were born on American soil, on reservations in their tribes and their tribal jurisdiction, were not considered American citizens until Congress passed an act in the early 1900s. Is that clear, Natalie, or did I explain it properly?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that. I just wanted to mention that Lincoln had said, obviously contemporaneous to that time and issue, he had said that he was confident an enlightened citizenry would understand the spirit as well as the letter of the law. So it's obvious what it was intended. It's absurd what it's devolved into. But my fear is, Jeff, and I'm glad that you're discussing this, when he did this, I was nervous about this because I'm nervous that a politician could negate a constitutional protection that they disagree with, and I'm not saying I disagree with it, with the wave of a pen. So say, God forbid, in 4 years we have President AOC, okay? And what do you think is going to happen to the Second Amendment? We have to look at the big picture here, and what can be done with an executive order can also be undone. We need it codified into law. I do favor changes to the Constitution being made through the ratification process, which is the way it's been laid out. It should be hard to change things. But I'm just thinking that isn't this why we have a Supreme Court, was to interpret laws under the guise of what the Constitution laid out? And I'm a strict constitutionalist, so to me it's a no-brainer, but, the ignorance and with the masses that's been perpetuated deliberately, in my opinion, I'm not sure where this leads us, but to protect our constitutional rights. I think that this should be a slow and sober process, although I don't disagree with his point of view.
Well, no, you nailed it. Look, the point of an executive order is not to usurp the power of Congress or the power of the Supreme Court. And so what Trump is just saying, and I think he's completely right, he's saying, look, the Supreme Court has never, ever ruled on birthright citizenship. Okay? In other words, well, they have, but they've never ruled on this issue. An illegal alien who has a child, is that child an American citizen? The Supreme Court, trust me when I tell you this, take it to the bank. Everything that they're telling you is a lie, it's misinformation. The Supreme Court has never ruled on this issue. So Trump is saying, well, you're all assuming that just because an illegal crosses the border, literally just walks across the line, plop, out comes the baby, that's the baby's now an American? On what planet? This is why we pay their salaries. Let the Supreme Court finally rule on this issue. And with the originalist that we have on the Supreme Court, he's got a very good shot at winning because it defies law, the intent and meaning of the 14th Amendment, history, experience. I could go on and on. It defies common sense. You know, look, the first argument I would make in front of the Supreme Court, which takes me 5 seconds, is naming one other country in the history of the world, not the world, in the history of the world, that says you illegally come into that country, you have a child, that child is now automatically a citizen of that country. One. Don't bother, you can't find it. So what's so unique about us? And you're telling us that after a bloody civil war, hello? I mean, just look around and, point your finger to your head. Bodies strewn everywhere in Gettysburg. Atlanta razed to the ground. An entire area, section of the United States, literally destroyed, the South. 600,000 dead. Millions maimed and crippled. And we have the issue now of these slaves who, under the Dred Scott decision, remember, this is 1857, is Dred Scott, 3 years before the Civil War. So Dred Scott is fresh in everybody's mind. Dred Scott said, it was a despicable decision, it said, African Americans are not citizens. Slaves are not citizens. And so they're not conferred all the rights and privileges that Americans have. And so the Republicans in Congress said, no effing way. This is not America. This is not what we just fought this war over. So they passed the Civil Rights Act. And then someone said, yeah, but you can overturn the Civil Rights Act. They said, okay, damn it, we're going to do a 14th Amendment. We'll amend the Constitution. Now, Natalie, this is the checkmate argument, okay? Please look it up. Don't take my word for it. The main architect of the 14th Amendment, there were other people who played a role, but he played by far the seminal, vital role. This is widely, universally acknowledged, is a senator by the name of Jacob Howard. Okay? Jacob Howard. He authored the 14th Amendment, and he pretty much drove it through ratification. Howard himself was asked, well, hold on. Does this mean anybody just comes to the United States and they have a baby and they get citizenship? Here is what Howard said. Citizenship does not apply to the children of foreigners, his words, aliens, diplomats, or the consuls or ministers on American soil. So, according to the man who wrote and ratified the 14th Amendment, in fact, I'll get you in the 19th century language, I'll quote to everybody what he said. But he openly said, no, it doesn't apply to foreigners. So you mean some guy from Britain comes and visits the United States, and his wife is pregnant, has a baby, suddenly this person's an American citizen? Eh, loco. Aliens literally mean someone who's here illegal. He goes, no. They wouldn't even apply it to diplomats. You know, for example, the ambassador of France, who's allowed to be in America, has every right to be in America. No. He said if their children are born, they're citizens of France. Now, as a courtesy, the American government, but it's a courtesy, not a right. They said, we will give your child legal residency. Basically, their version of a green card. Okay, they don't want to leave because maybe some of them have been here for 20 years and they've gone to school here. Okay, fine. You're not going to be a citizen because we still fear your allegiance may be to France, but we'll let you stay in our country. But I'm talking diplomats, ambassadors, and their children. But so Jake, the author of the 14th Amendment, answered the question himself. That's why Trump, I'm telling you in private, I know the lawyers that are advising him. They're from the Claremont Institute. The key lawyer is a lawyer. He's a brilliant constitutional professor and lawyer. His name is John Eastman. Eastman. He's written books on this, articles on this, columns on this. He's a brilliant man. One of the most brilliant constitutional law professors in the country. He helped write that executive order. So I know who's advising Trump. And Eastman says, just get it in front of the Supreme Court. We're going to go to town on these people. So we're going to cite the original drafter and author of the 14th Amendment. Clarence Thomas is going to vote yes. Alito's going to vote yes. Kavanaugh's going to vote yes. I hope Amy Coney Barrett votes yes. She should vote yes. Gorsuch will vote yes. You're going to have at least 5 justices, maybe 6. We just got to get it to the Supreme Court. That's Trump's plan. And you're right, Natalie. That's the job of the Supreme Court, to interpret the Constitution and issue a ruling. And that's what Trump's saying in private. Okay, guys, earn your salary. Natalie, final word to you.
I was hoping when this came down that it was Trump, playing chess here and trying to get this finally established. But I mean, I could see that it would be blocked when he issued it. It's like, oh no, they're gonna have an injunction against that. So I'm not surprised, but I do support it. I think it's just common sense, and it's not just. I mean, they're obviously playing a loophole. The left always wants to close the loopholes for the rich. They always scream that. So it's like, well, this is a loophole, and it's not. It's absurd. So I hope that it prevails. But we have a squishy court, so I'm not as confident as you. But I hope I'm wrong.
Let me, Natalie, just before you go, okay? This is what Senator Jacob Howard wrote. He was asked specifically about the 14th Amendment. Well, what does this mean, for foreigners in America, immigrants, diplomats? Here's what he wrote, okay? It's in the 19th century language, but here it is. You can hear it. Everybody will understand this. Quote, okay, so this is straight from the proverbial horse's mouth. Quote, every person born within the limits of the United States and subject to their jurisdiction is by virtue of natural law and national law a citizen of the United States. Now here it comes. This will not, of course, now notice he says of course, like it's self-evident. This will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of person. So, in a nutshell, he's saying, look, it applies to African Americans, it applies to former slaves, it applies to the freed slaves, maybe even to Native American Indians. We shall see. We've got to work this out. But it does not apply to foreigners. i.e. immigrants. It does not apply to aliens. It doesn't even apply to diplomats and ambassadors. Case closed. To me, that's why John Eastman and the Claremont Institute are telling Trump, take it to the Supreme Court. We're going to win this. Natalie, thank you very, very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. So what the left has now done is they've deliberately misinterpreted the 14th Amendment. And they leave out that pivotal clause, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And they're preying upon people's ignorance of history and ignorance of the Constitution and, frankly, lack of common sense. And that's why, again, I got to give Trump his due. The guy's got balls. You know, even Reagan didn't challenge birthright citizenship. Just to give an example. And Trump's like, no, man. No, we're going to lose our country. It's out of control. 617-266-6868. Okay, let me ask all of you. Should an illegal alien who comes into our country illegally and has a child on American soil, should that child be given all the rights and privileges of an American citizen? I say absolutely not. This is insane. As one person famously said, the Constitution is not a suicide pact. But that's me. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868. And we have a lot of nurses, a lot of people in the medical field who listen to the Kuhner report. Have you seen instances of birth tourism where you work? We have people in California, in Florida that listen. It's very prevalent there, but even here in Massachusetts. Have you seen wealthy foreigners come to our hospitals where their wives, girlfriends, whatever, will have a child deliberately just to get citizenship, and then they're out? Should this practice come to an end? I say yes. All of your calls next. 719 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, text line is on fire. You can text us 70470. This is from 603. Jeff, what the Anchor Babies policy has done is that it has told the entire world, come to America, have your baby here, and your child will get everything for free. Free health care, free visa cards, free education, free housing, free. 603, you are 1,000% correct. And let me just add this, because and this is not my point, actually not even my point. It's a point, I just can't get the number. There's so many texts coming in, but it's from a member of the audience that sent me a really good text message. Basically, what the person said is, Jeff, let me tell you what birthright citizenship is. It's the equivalent of someone coming to your home, okay, a woman coming to your home, a mother, 9 months pregnant, illegally comes into your home. And the moment she comes into your home, let's say in your living room, out comes the baby. And because the baby came out in your living room, she now has rights to your home. You now have to take care of the baby, you have to take care of the mother, and the mother now has a claim to your home. What would you say to that? Just say, you're crazy. This is insane. And notice, it's not even that they're just given citizenship. This is what's really sick about the entire Anchor Babies, this so-called birthright citizenship. If you're an American citizen, okay, or a permanent resident, you have a baby, you got to go to the hospital. Who pays for the labor? You do. Who pays for the doctor and the medical stuff? You do. Who's got to go back to work in whatever the leave, family leave policy is, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever, and start working and paying taxes? You do. Who's responsible for that child's health care, education, food? You are. But if you're an illegal and you come and you have a baby, we, the taxpayers, pay for the labor, for the delivery, for the doctor. We pay for that child's health care and clothes and food and education, i.e. for them, it's free, free, free. For the child, free. For the illegal alien mom, free. For the dad, free. But for us citizens, we got to pay through the nose. We got to pay for our children plus the illegal aliens' children. And you're trying to tell me this is what they intended in the 14th Amendment in 1868 in the wake of the Civil War when they freed the slaves? That's the intent. But that's what Lincoln really wanted, Jeff. He wanted illegals to come and have babies on our dime. It's insane. It's insulting. And it has destroyed our country. It's a magnet. It has brought in, we have now at least 40 million illegals. How many of them have children? God knows. And all of the welfare benefits, all of the free stuff, it's bankrupting our country. It's killing us. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. If a squatter comes into your home, breaks into your home, and then ends up having a baby in your home, does that squatter and the baby now have a right to your home? Or to stay in your home? Or to claim part of your home? That's what the left, that's what the globalists, that's what the media is claiming about the 14th Amendment. 617-266-6868. Brooks in Florida. Thanks for holding, Brooks, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Brooks.
I was just taking some notes along with what you were saying, and a couple of things that comes to mind. A small left-hand turn on this is, I'm not sure if you're aware, but New England's getting pretty chilly right now with ice. They're on their way, brother. And last night, a very boastful Providence, Rhode Island attorney who handles immigration, he literally takes money for and from illegals to delay court proceedings, things of this nature. He has a terrible, terrible reputation. They came to his law firm last night, and the numbers mysteriously went up from like 300 to 1,000 arrests. Now, he has since closed shop. That's breaking now. That's all over the news. So, it kind of turns into what you're talking about, because we're he's going for large numbers, and I think eventually, Trump is so smart, he's going to figure a way for some sort of relief for people that we do need in here for, help of farms and whatever. But, that's going to steer into a legal process, and he keeps pounding that. They have to come here legally. He might be sending them back to come back through the border. We don't know. It might be an H-1B1 situation. We're not sure. More will be revealed. But what is happening right now is Tom Holman, he is not taking caca from the left right now. And he also, and I'll send it to your email. I've been emailing you quite a bit. But what Tom Holman put on X is that, isn't it going to be fun to watch Massachusetts and California
We're up against a hard break. Can you please hang on? I want you to finish that thought about what Homan said about Massachusetts and California, because you're right. Things are heating up in New England. No question about it. More next. 7:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay, we lost Brooks in Florida, but in case you hadn't seen it, Bill Malugin was riding along with Boston Ice. And, of course, this is a huge national story, whereby they were rounding up, we're talking the worst of the worst, the deadliest of the deadliest illegal alien violent criminals that Maura Healey, Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston, and the Democrats in this state refuse to deport, and who've been trying to protect and coddle. And I got to tell you, it sent chills down my spine. To see the kind of people that they were scooping up, this is maybe 5 miles from where I work. We're talking stone cold convicted murderers, MS-13 gangbangers, rapists, drug traffickers, child molesters. And to show you, these are the kinds of quote-unquote immigrants that Joey allowed to come into our country, and that Maura Healey, because she turned this state into a sanctuary state, openly welcomed with open arms. And by the way, just so that you know, my friends, okay, all of you, you're paying for this. You're paying. The apartments that they were raiding them in, we paid for their apartments. That's free for them. Public housing, we paid for that. Their food, catered meals, we paid for that. Their clothing, we paid for that. We even gave them prepaid Visa gift cards. Okay? Now, I just want to play the cut of one. He's an illegal Haitian migrant, a violent criminal thug, led in by Joey, and welcomed by Michelle Wu and by Maura Healey. Now, these are the kinds of scum that are hiding in plain sight and that have been, God knows what they have done to people and to American citizens and to Bostonians and residents. And I'm just using Massachusetts because this raid was focused on, the greater Boston area, that they know of. This Haitian has 18 convictions. A stone-cold gangbanger. The guy's a sociopath. He's arrested by ICE. And listen to what he says to the camera. Roll cut 18, Mike.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent...
Trump. F Trump. Biden forever, baby. I want to thank Obama for everything he did for me, bro. Okay? You think these illegals are stupid? You think they don't know who's buttering their bread? You don't think they don't know who their friends and allies are? Now, this is a murderer. This is a drug trafficker. This is a human trafficker. He's part of one of the most vicious, deadly gangs in Haiti. By the way, they're bringing in a ton of fentanyl. A ton of fentanyl. God knows how many people have died because of him and his gang, including, by the way, school children. This is undeniable. It's irrefutable. Here, I want to play it again. Listen to the background. Okay, please, listen. Listen as closely as you can. F Trump, Biden forever. And I want to thank Obama for everything he did for me, bro. I ain't going back to effing Haiti. Roll cut 18, Mike.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Little Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
Okay? So, there you go. They support him politically. Doesn't that tell you everything you need to know? And worse than that, how dare you, as an elected representative, I'm sorry, I got to stay calm because I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble. You POS, okay? You piece of you know what. You allow an animal like this? Like, and similar, MS-13, Trender Aragua, I can go on and on. To live in our midst? To prey on our citizens? To kill and rape our fellow citizens? And to add insult to injury? We're paying for his freaking apartment? We're paying for his food? He's got a health care plan that we're paying for God's sake. Now, he's got a girlfriend. She's illegal too. Okay, they're all part of that gang. Now, by liberal logic, I want you to think how sick and perverse this is. The two of them have a baby. Of course, they go to the hospital, we pay for the whole thing. Okay, even though he's got wads and stacks of cash from all the drugs he's been dealing in his apartment. Okay, but no. Let the dumb gringo, let Uncle Sucker pay. Now, according to the interpretation of the 14th Amendment, you see, when Jacob Howard and the Republicans put up that amendment, no, they wanted him to come here and have a baby, and the baby would be a U.S. citizen. That was the intent of the 14th Amendment. You can't make this up. So according to them, if he and his illegal alien girlfriend have a child, that child Americano, that child has rights, more rights, because everything they get is free. Now do you understand the insanity of liberalism? Now do you understand how evil sanctuary cities are? Now do you understand how evil sanctuary states are? Now do you understand when that bishop, that Episcopalian bishop, Bishop Budd, stands there and perverts the national prayer service and turns it into a political rant and says, pity people like this Haitian illegal. Pity him. Pity all of them like him. Have mercy on them. How dare you deport him? God, don't send him back to Haiti. Donald Trump is trying to save our country. That's why he's issuing these executive orders. That's why he's got the guts to say, no. You're not going to abuse and lie and misinterpret the 14th Amendment to allow my country to be overrun by criminal scum like you just saw in that Boston ICE raid. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Okay, we got Brooks back. Brooks in Florida. Brooks, this tees it up perfectly for you after I just played these cuts. You're saying Holman went on TV, and he said in particular, California and Massachusetts, the most moonbat of all moonbat states. You think you're going to hide these illegals? We're going to turn the screws. We're going to turn up the pressure. Please, Brooks, pick up where you left off.
Okay, so what I did, Jeff, is my wife, Kim, pulled up his exact post. So this isn't a meme. This isn't, anything other than truly authentic off of his X. And it reads as follows. From New York to Massachusetts to California, a bunch of politicians are about to become felons. And it's going to be glorious to watch all the anti-American garbage get arrested. Review Title 8 USC 1324. It's a felony to harbor illegal aliens. Isn't it interesting that he used the term garbage? Now, where have we heard that before?
Oh, that's a great point. That's an absolutely great point. You know, I got to say, Brooks, Michelle Wu protected him, this Haitian gangbanger. Maura Healey protected this Haitian gangbanger. All of these Democrats in Massachusetts protected this vicious Haitian gangbanger. They were aiding and abetting an illegal criminal alien. And he's been going on a rampage. God knows how many people he's killed. I'm with Tom Homan. I'm sorry. They're complicit in the crimes of this Haitian illegal. They knew he was here, and they still did nothing. I'm sorry. Enough is enough. Start putting these Democrat politicians of sanctuary states and sanctuary cities in jail. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. They're putting all of our lives and safety in danger. Enough is enough. 749 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask you. Should illegal aliens who come into our country, again, illegally, and have a baby on American soil, should that child be given automatic birthright citizenship? I say it's insane. Liberals love it. What say you? Heather in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Heather, and welcome.
Hi, Jeffrey. How are you? Thank you for taking my call.
Very good. I got to tell you, Trump has had the mother of all weeks. I could not have expected a better first week in office. But please, go ahead, Heather.
I still have to keep refilling my popcorn bowl. It's just getting better and better. I am like basking in the glory.
Heather, where do you stand on anchor babies?
No, absolutely not. It never made sense to me why this was a policy. I never could understand. And when you broke it down, I mean, obviously, it made sense why, like, if I was from a different country and I heard that, I would take advantage naturally. I mean, it makes sense. But it never made sense for the United States to have a policy like that to me. You know what I mean? The question, I have two questions. First of all, when this goes to the Supreme Court, do you think, like, I know it's going to be like a big controversy and the media is going to be all over it, but do you think there's going to be like threats and, people camped out of the outside of the justices' homes and everything like they did with the abortion? And there was another question I wanted to ask, and
well, Heather, look, let me you can think about your next question, because this first question is a brilliant question. So let me answer it, and then you think about your second question. And really, I thank you, because it's an absolutely outstanding question. Trust me when I tell you this. Okay, you can take this to the bank. I've never been sure of anything in my life. That's how confident I am. If this goes to the Supreme Court, it is going to make the debates, the protests regarding the Dobbs decision, Roe v. Wade, look like a Sunday picnic. The left is going to be camped outside of Amy Coney Barrett's home, Kavanaugh's home, Alito's home, Gorsuch's home, as I mentioned Alito already, Clarence Thomas's home. They are going to do everything in their power to bully and intimidate and frighten these justices, because this is much bigger even than abortion. It's the holy grail of open borders globalism. Their entire basis of their attempt to destroy, look, abortion, huge issue, very contentious, very polarizing. No question. Please don't get me wrong. No question. This for the left is even more important. Why? Because it's the linchpin of their plan to destroy America. The only way that they have been able to flood this country with illegals is through this bogus, perverse misinterpretation, false interpretation of the 14th Amendment. You take away anchor babies. You take away this quote-unquote birthright citizenship. It's over. It's over. Then it's almost impossible. See, think about it from the Democrats' point of view. Nobody's asking, well, why are all these Democrats? I mean, look at them. The ink wasn't dry on the executive order. Boom, ACLU went to court. Boom, 22 states, blue states. Why? Because those states, like Massachusetts, are full of illegals. They need those anchor babies. They need future anchor babies. That's the magnet. That's the attraction to keep making sure that millions and millions keep pouring into our country. And what does that mean for the Democrats? It means massive extra representation in Congress. Remember, according to the census, they don't just count, citizens and legal, lawful, permanent residents. No, they count illegals. So that's why Massachusetts has more representation in Congress than its population, than its number of citizens, than it deserves. California, the same thing. Illinois, New York State, it's huge. They get so many extra seats, congressional seats, because of it. That's number one. Number two, the illegals come, they have their anchor babies, they all go on welfare. They go on welfare, that creates dependency. That dependency creates the one-party Democratic state. Democrats are the party of welfare and welfare dependency. So the more a population is dependent upon welfare, the more their power grows. So it is the basis of democratic power, and it is the basis of what the globalists want to do to undermine and flood and sabotage the United States. You take away that magnet. Suddenly now, hold on. Why should we go to America? You mean if we have a child there, they're still going to deport us? Hold on. We're not going to get any welfare benefits? We're just like, they're just going to kick us out? Oh, the hell with that. I'm not going to go. It cuts off the entire flow of illegal immigration. Now, you have to enforce your borders. You have to have a military. You have to, have them remain in Mexico. Yes, everything that Trump is doing. But that's why he's saying this is the heart and soul. If this falls, open borders falls. Globalism falls. The onslaught of unlimited immigration, illegal immigration, is over. You cut off the flow. No. They're going to go to war over this if they have to. And so that's why my advice to Trump is lawyer up, get an army of lawyers, spend whatever you have to spend in terms of the resources of the Justice Department, but you take this finally to the Supreme Court. Because I think people potentially could be shocked at the ruling. I don't know if that answers your question. Heather, agree, disagree?
Agree, and it definitely answers my question. I'm wondering. See, this is my kind of thought. I don't know how, but I think we have such a different in time. I mean, this is only a week, but I still think that the tide is going to change. Like, I really think these liberals are losing their power. Like, I don't think they're going to have as much power. I don't know if you agree or disagree with me. Even like, I know they're going to try to bully these justices and stuff, but I mean, it might work a little bit, but I'm hoping the justices will do, I guess my point is, I hope the justices will do the right thing and rule the right way and not kowtow to the libtards. Do you know what I mean?
The overwhelming majority of Americans support deporting every single illegal. Not just, the violent criminal ones. No. Every single illegal out that has majority support. In fact, strong majority support. And this idea of anchor babies, massive opposition in the country. So you're right. You can feel it within just the last 4 or 5 days, how much power is ebbing away from Democrats. Because Trump now is going for the jugular. He's cutting off everything. And look, this is it. It's a war. And he has his enemy on the ropes, and he's not going to stop. And so I just hope he continues. Don't back down. He said he won't yesterday. He was asked about this judge's decision blocking him at the local, this district judge. And he said, we're just going to appeal. I'm not going to stop. You can tell he's determined. I want this in front of the Supreme Court. Now, I'm telling you, Heather, Alito is going to vote in against birthright citizenship. Thomas is going to be a no. Gorsuch is going to be a no. Kavanaugh is going to be a no. Now, that's 4. In theory, because Amy Coney Barrett has written about this, and she says this is a fiction. This birthright citizenship, no Supreme Court has ever ratified it. No Supreme Court has ever ruled, she said it herself, ever, on whether illegal aliens can have children and those children be given citizenship. Now, if she rules the way she's supposed to rule, that's 5. It's over. Chief Justice John Roberts, same thing, but who can trust that Judas? So, Heather, if this goes to the Supreme Court, remember, nobody thought Trump could overturn Roe v. Wade. Everyone says, he's going to lose. He's going to lose on the 14th Amendment. He's going to lose on birthright citizenship. Yeah, I wouldn't bet that. I wouldn't bet the house on that if I were you. That's all I got to tell you. Don't bet the house. 617-266-6868. Okay, 8 o'clock. You know what that means, Friday. Kuhner's call log. Caller of the week.
It's time for Kuhner's Call Log, where we showcase our favorite caller from the week.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Florence, thanks for holding and welcome.
I want to thank you for highlighting this wonderful decision on behalf of President Trump. I was there on January 6th. I was part of the almost entirely peaceful crowd that day. I was part of tens of thousands of people who had attended the speech that Trump gave at the Ellipse and then walked over to the Capitol after getting through some tear gas at the base of the Capitol. And we were just chanting and singing, and we didn't do anything violent like 99% of my fellow people there that day. And I don't know who those people were that committed the violence, but they weren't with us. They were not with us. So this whole thing about jailing the people who were there was always wrong, and this is completely ridiculous. We were all just individuals. There were some organizations involved, of course, but they were a minority. We were just average people who came there. We knew, like you said, about the stealing going on in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, and we had heard enough, we'd seen enough of the stupid ballot counting over and over again and blocking the view of the people and throwing out observers and everything. And we were just there to peacefully protest, and the notion that we're going to suddenly form some kind of citizen army, whatever, it's ridiculous.
Why are they being released? Are they being released as a reserve army of political foot soldiers to act on behalf of MAGA and Donald Trump?
Be here every weekday on the Kuhner Report between 6 and 10 a.m. And next week, it could be you on Kuhner's Call Log.
Please, don't be a stranger. Call again. That was a dynamite call. And again, you see the left's hysteria on these January 6 pardons. It's having no effect. It's having no effect. It's what Heather and Rockland was saying. You can feel the power now flowing away, ebbing away from the left, and they don't know what to do. They're having a meltdown. And Trump is going through them like a hot knife through butter. And his offensive hasn't stopped, and he's got the gas on the pedal, and he's not letting up. And I hope he doesn't let up. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, super quick reset because I want to go right back to the phone lines. Trump issued, as part of his flurry of executive orders, one of the most important was his executive order called Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship. In it, he specifically gives directions to federal government agencies. You are not to give citizenship documents to any child born of an illegal alien from this point forward. In fact, he says on two fronts. One, if the mother is an illegal alien who's the father of the child is either not a citizen or a legal lawful resident, a permanent resident, then that child is not a U.S. citizen. You are not to confer citizenship documents. And if the mother is here on a temporary visa, in other words, not a green card, but say you're here for a tourist visa, a week or two, or a very temporary work visa, and the father is not an American citizen or a permanent lawful resident, you do not issue citizenship documents. They are not U.S. citizens. That the left and the courts have been misinterpreting deliberately the 14th Amendment, and he says the 14th Amendment does not apply to illegals who simply have a baby on American soil, and that baby is now automatically made an American citizen. Do you agree? Or do you disagree? 617-266-6868. And I asked this question before. I'd love to throw this log on the fire now as well. Have you worked in the tourist industry, hospitality, or the healthcare medical field where you've seen, quote unquote, birth tourism? Where people come, say, from China or Saudi Arabia or Russia or countries all over the world, usually very wealthy, and they will come deliberately just for a week so that their child can be born in an American hospital, be given American citizenship, American papers, and then bye-bye. And then that child can return with his parents whenever he wants or she wants, and they can stay for as long as they want with all the rights and privileges given to U.S. citizens. Have you seen them abuse our system? And what do you make of it? 617-266-6868. Paul in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Paul, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I have 2 points. First one, when these people come over here, we don't know who the father is. He could be a terrorist. He could be a cartel, a gang member, as we see a lot of them now being picked up, which is phenomenal. I'm so psyched about them coming to Massachusetts first, picking our great state to start honing it out. We just don't know who these people are. We understand that the mother is pregnant, but along the line, they get pregnant on purpose, like has been said before, so that when they get here, anchor, boom, U.S. citizen. It's disgusting what's going on as far as that goes, and I'm glad, shake and bake President Trump. And the second is I've mentioned this before with you when I called, dual citizenship. These people still have the right to go back and stay citizens of their founding countries, as well as coming here. That issue, besides the anchor baby, I've been screaming about for 20 some odd years. This dual citizenship's got to come to an end. We have to stop. You're either an American citizen or you're not. And that's the bottom line. And this is an issue that I think should be brought to the fore and should be presented as well as anchor baby situation. It's just unbelievable how these lunatics that have been ruining our country for the past who knows how many years, which I'm sure we all know, have just distorted the wording of the Constitution, as you said many times. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And I'm so psyched. President Trump's in. He's putting his thumb down. He's going forward. He's doing everything I feel as American citizens should be done. Protecting our rights, protecting our freedom. I mean, all these things have been just utterly...
I agree. No, Paul, I agree. Protecting our interests. You know, as he says, promises made, promises kept. Now, and I just want to take the second part of your, you made two very good points. Look, I agree with you. And I look at dual citizenship. I know it's going to strike people as a bit odd, but I look at it as polygamy. Really, as a form of, citizenship polygamy. I'm sorry. Either you're married, to one wife or one husband, and you're committed to one family, and the children of that family, and one home. Not to multiple homes. Not to multiple wives and multiple families and multiple children from different families. Because in the end, I'm sorry, what you're doing by having dual citizenship is you're diluting American citizenship. That's what you're doing. And you're creating dual loyalties. So if you're a dual citizen, I don't care. I'm just going to pick a country, okay? The United States and Norway. I'm just randomly picking. Nothing against Norway. I love Norway, but, well, is your allegiance to Norway or is your allegiance to the United States? Now, if you're in a position of government, I don't know. Is your loyalty to Norway over that of the United States? If you're in the military, is your loyalty ultimately to that of Norway over the United States? We shouldn't have that. No self-respecting country would tolerate that. You're either all in or you're not. You're either an American or you're not. So I agree with you. I think we should abolish dual citizenship. And I know it makes life difficult for people, but too bad. That's life. See, that's the thing I can't stand. They want to take advantage of all the opportunities this wonderful country has to offer and all the freedoms and liberties that this great country has and offers. But they also want to have their cake and eat it too. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. And, and on this dilution of citizenship, I go back to what you said exactly about, Jeff, it's disgusting. They come here from other countries. They plan the pregnancy. They have the baby here. There's no allegiance to America. And suddenly the baby's automatically given citizenship? You mean just like that for free? They don't have to earn it? Any foreigner from anywhere around the world just literally flies in and plop, out comes the baby, and the baby now is all of a sudden an American? You're diluting and cheapening citizenship. That's what Trump said in his executive order. You're diluting the meaning and the value of American citizenship. You're cheapening its currency. You're cheapening its worth. So, no, we should jealously guard American sovereignty and American citizenship. You don't just give it away. So I'm with you on every single count. Paul, thank you very, very much for that call. Okay, there are multiple lines open. If you want to jump on, now's the time to do it. Anchor babies. Should we continue the practice of anchor babies? And should someone born to an illegal alien be given U.S. citizenship? 820 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Trump's illegal immigration crackdown now continues. He has secured the border. Biden's invasion is over. 1,500 U.S. troops have been placed along the border. They're already commencing on finishing the wall. It should be imminent, maybe in about 30 days. We will have a massive wall protecting our entire southern border. Furthermore, mass deportations have begun. Apparently, I just got a huge news break on my news feed. Flights already now. One flight, they're using military planes, cargo planes. They are flying out illegal aliens from Boston, Chicago, New York, L.A., Dallas, Houston, and Atlanta. So already they are being deported as you and I speak. Huge ICE raids in Boston, and we were talking about that a little bit earlier. MS-13 gang members, literally MS-13 gang members, murderers, rapists, child traffickers, fentanyl dealers have been arrested, including a vicious member of a Haitian gang who, when arrested, said F Trump, Biden forever, and basically said, thanks, Obama, you're my bro. So these are the kinds of scum that the Democrats have been protecting in this state. This is a text I got from 508. Jeff, what apartment complexes took the federal money? Who took the no-bid food contracts for all of the illegal shelters? All tied to Democrats who made a lot of money. Aiding and abetting, they should all be in jail. Name the names. I want some butts. Amen, brother. Amen. The hotels, the motels, the apartment complexes, all of them who took money to provide quote-unquote free shelter, i.e. our money. We paid for it. To all of these illegals who gave them 3 catered meals a day. All of it. They need to be held accountable because they engaged in a massive betrayal. 617-266-6868. Okay, very, very quick. This, I don't want to mention the person's name. And by the way, if you ever want to give me information and you say, please, Jeff, don't use my name, keep me anonymous, you have my word of honor. I have never betrayed a confidence, and I never will betray a confidence. So if you don't want your name used, it will never be used. You have my word. So anyway, this person says, please don't use my name, but then goes on to say, one of the previous callers, Paul is so right about dual citizenship. Jeff, I work with many Dominicans that come here, they buy apartments, bring their parents and relatives over, and swear to sponsor them. And they all end up on welfare, Section 8 housing. And guess where they live and where the checks go? They also don't marry because they can collect 2 incomes from the government. Now, bingo. And I want to thank you for your courage. And it's not just the Dominicans. Oh, Ukrainians now have been pouring into this country, same racket. You've got Russians. I guess they're fleeing Putin or they're opposed to the war or they heard about our open border under Biden. Same thing. Brazilians, Colombians, people from the Middle East. I mean, it goes on. People from Africa, people from China. People from Mexico, obviously. It's everywhere. As Trump said, it's from almost every country. And so they come here. Many of them will have an anchor baby that confers citizenship. Then the parents say, well, we can't be separated. Then they sponsor their parents or their relatives. Then they come and everybody gets on the welfare gravy train. It's free education, it's free health care, it's free Section 8 public housing, it's prepaid debit cards, it's EBT cards. you can see what this is doing to our country and how it's going to bankrupt us. And many of them deliberately do not marry. Or they're married and they claim they're single, or some even actually get divorced, but they're together just to get multiple income streams. Not one check, two checks. Not one apartment, two apartments. Not one prepaid debit card, two prepaid debit cards. Not one EBT, two EBT cards. This has got to stop. We're being raped. We're being ripped off. We're being exploited. And our country's being invaded. And apparently, this is what the intent of the 14th Amendment. This is, this is what they wanted in 1868. Your reaction next. 8:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Kuhner Country, lines are jammed. I want to go right to the phone lines. But before I do, I always want to take the pulse of this great audience. Trump's people, as you know, listen to this show. And so Trump is moving on all fronts, obviously. He's also moving aggressively on energy. A lot of drilling is now being opened up within the last 48, 72 hours. Offshore drilling on federal lands. He really wants to drive down the price of oil, not just here in the United States, but around the world. And that's the key, by the way, to him ending the war in Ukraine. Russia depends on oil. Putin's war machine cannot function if the price of oil continues to go down. And so Trump openly said this at Davos yesterday, or in his speech to Davos. He said, I want to drive oil to $40 a gallon. Sorry, $40 a barrel. And by doing that, Putin will have no choice. He will be forced to negotiate a peace deal because he literally will not have the money to finance his war machine. He also said oil and natural gas drilling is going to be key to lowering inflation here in the United States. The cost of everything is going to go down when the cost of energy and gas goes down. And he said that, and once we do that, interest rates will come down and we will become not just energy dominant, but we will have conquered inflation and prices will stabilize and start going down again. And we will have the middle and working class start really coming back. Now, the reason why I mention this, what is more important to you? I know everything is important. I get it. I'm the same. But if you had to pick one, what's more important to you, and what do you think is ultimately more important to the country in terms of what Trump is doing? Is it A, immigration, B, energy? What for you at this moment is more important for you, your family, and ultimately for the United States? A, immigration. B, energy. You can vote. For me, it's A. B, obviously, very important. But to me, this invasion is, to me, my number one priority. For others, it's important, but it's not number one. It's inflation, bringing down the cost of everything, ending the war in Russia, but just in general, using oil and natural gas to end this inflation crisis once and for all. So I understand people can disagree on this. What is more important for you? You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in national ER. You can also vote via X, our handle there, at the Kuhner Report, and I've been active on X. I was last night. KUHN as in national ER. And as always, the Kuhner Country poll question of the day is sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Mark in Connecticut. Thanks for holding, Mark. and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff. Hey,
Hi,
I'll tell you two things. One, like, you know, the Democrats want the voters, obviously. Well, I personally think if you don't have a job, you don't get a vote. Or if you're retired, you know, you can vote, and disabled, you know, there's extenuating circumstances. But if you're just sitting somewhere collecting off America, no, you don't get the vote. They'll take care of part of that. I mean, really, that's disgusting. And DeSantis, did you hear him yesterday? Correct that reporter?
Oh, yeah. He's good. No, I got it. He's good. He's very good.
That was great. That was absolutely great. I could not believe he did. That reporter after called him an illegal alien. That was really, I can't believe, you know, that he did that, and that reporter just fell right in line. Trump is amazing. He's correcting this whole country right now. It hasn't been a week yet.
Mark, I mentioned it earlier, but I really have to say, this is what's happening. It's just incredible. Look, under Franklin Roosevelt, you know, his first 100 days, there was such a flurry of legislation that he kind of set the standard. And so every president since has been judged, you know, the first 100 days, right? Trump now, people are talking about I'm not kidding, the first 100 hours. That's what they're saying. It's almost like, he's like the FDR of the 21st century. They've never seen such energy from the executive branch, so many powerful, wide-ranging, important executive orders issued by a president of the United States in the first 4 days, basically 72, 96 hours of his presidency. Mark, I just want to come back to something that you said earlier. Look, I understand where you're coming from. You don't want someone on welfare who's not a contributing member of society, you know, an able-bodied person who's not paying taxes, refuses to work, and is a mooch off the system. But Mark, if I become unemployed by the grace of God, or you become unemployed by the grace of God, you don't think you and I should not vote, right?
I've been driving trucks for 45 years now. I mean, you know, we have a body of work behind us. And it's more like for, you know, the illegal aliens come here and collect benefits. And then, you know, like in a while, if the Democrats had their way, they'd be able to vote. No, you don't get a vote. You don't get to sit home and collect off of everybody and then have your vote. These people in these cities, they change elections by their votes and stuff, and these people are sitting on their butts collecting, you know, welfare, and we're paying for them, and they're voting themselves money. This is so messed up.
You're dead on. Mark, you're 1,000, not 100. You're 1,000% correct. No, we got to cut that off. That's blatant welfare fraud and abuse. And they're stealing. It's a form of legalized theft. They're stealing. That's what that is. You know, to sit at home, you're, again, an able-bodied person. I'm not saying you're disabled or, you know, handicapped or obviously retired. You've worked your whole life and pay taxes. I'm talking about you're an able-bodied person. Okay? I don't know, 30 years old. And you don't want to work? And you're just collecting benefits? And you're sitting around getting stoned all day or watching Jerry Springer or playing video games? I'm sorry, you're a crook, man. You're a thief. That's what you are. You're completely right, Mark. Mark, thank you very, very much for that call. That's what it is. So, you know, we used to call that a bum, a mooch, a sponge. Now it's the 14th Amendment. I'm telling you, I swear, you can't make this up. 617-266-6868 is the number. And I think that's another thing. You're using welfare, you're mooching off the system, and you're an illegal. Out. I think they all should go. But I think Trump should say, I'm not just going to stop at the criminal illegals. No. You've been stealing from this taxpayer and exploiting our generosity and living off the fat of the land? I don't think so. you're out. How are you being a productive member of society? You're mooching off of us. Out. Agree, disagree. 617-266-6868. Jan in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Jan, and welcome.
Jeff, I think it's Dan, actually.
Dan, I'm sorry. I have Jan. Mike, I'm just saying, man. Would it kill you to learn how to spell once in a while? I'm just saying, Mike. All right, I apologize. I have Jan. It's Dan. Dan, thanks for holding, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, I think Trump's a mastermind. It's going to go to the Supreme Court. I think they're going to split the baby. The issue is going to be birthright citizenship versus chain migration. I believe the court will affirm birthright citizenship, but they will rule against chain migration. And that will cut the flow. So the baby's born in this country, but the parents don't get automatic citizenship, and nor do their parents and grandparents and nieces and nephews and cousins and so forth. Look, Trump talked about in his first term about breaking chain migration, and I believe that he's gonna break chain migration by addressing the issue of birthright citizenship. You brought up another question about anybody witnessed? I'm a registered nurse. I'm not a labor and delivery nurse, but I am a med surg nurse, and I'd like to share two quick anecdotes. During COVID, a mother and a daughter bought a one-way ticket, flew to Boston, got in a car, drove to an urban community hospital, both complaining of a chronic cough for more than a year. Diagnosed with tuberculosis, they ended up being quarantined in the state hospital for 9 months. Guess who paid for it? You and me. I'm going to give you another example. A geriatric patient coming over from Africa was sponsored by a pastor of a inner city church. The pastor dropped the patient off at the doorstep of the hospital as a sponsor and then abandoned.
And then, of course, that person gets taken care of, and we have to foot the bill. See, this is Dan, dynamite call. This is what Trump is saying. He's saying, guys, we're not going to have a country after you keep doing this. We're gone. We're going to go broke. 8:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very, very quick. Trump recently interviewed by Hannity on Fox News, and he was asked about the Democrats and their determination to keep our borders wide open, to allow illegal aliens to continue to flood our country by the millions. It's now estimated there's at least 30, if not 40 million illegals, and they just keep coming until now, obviously. Trump says, I'm waging an all-out campaign. This invasion is going to be stopped cold. And I'm not just going to stop it, I'm going to reverse it. Roll cut 14, Mike.
Why would somebody say that open borders are good, where jails and mental institutions from other countries and gang members right off the streets of the toughest cities in the world are being brought to the United States of America and emptied out into our country? Why would anybody that even likes, you don't have to love our country, you have to like it. Why would anybody that likes our country, the Democrats, allow that to happen? And even now, I watch them on television, they're trying to justify it. You can't justify it. The only reason it can be is two reasons. You're stupid, and I don't think they're stupid. I think anybody that cheats that much and that well is not stupid. You're either stupid or you hate the country. Those are the only two reasons.
And look, I agree with him. Yes, I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just being honest. The Bills in Sudbury, the Franks in Gloucester, the Bens in North Andover, the activists, the base, the full mooners. Are they stupid? Yes, because they're fanatics. But as he's right. A party that cheats that well and that effectively Come on, they're not stupid. You say what you mean, evil, yes, you know what, but they're not stupid. So, as he puts it, you either stupid or you hate the country. Well, they're really not stupid. So there's only, it's either door one or door two. Well, it's not even door one. Well, it's got to be door two. They hate this country. It's so obvious. And I go back to this Haitian, the MS-13 gangbangers, but that brutal, vicious Haitian criminal gangbanger. How can you allow someone like him to come in Boston, in Massachusetts, and then to protect him and to coddle him, and then to give him everything free, i.e., we pay for it? You got to really hate the citizens of this state and the citizens of this country. Agree, disagree? 617-266-6868 is the number. Mike, Maestro, who do you want me to go to next, Mike? Dennis in Lunenburg. Thanks for holding, Dennis, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, how are you, my friend? You do wonderful work, and thank you for everything, and I'm sure your parents are looking down on you and so proud of you about it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dennis. Dennis, what do you make of anchor babies and birthright citizenship?
I got a little story for you, Jeff. About 25 years ago, my brother-in-law's sister married a fella from Morocco, and since then, his sister came here twice, 2 different times, and had 2 children. She went back to Morocco, and I'm sure she's collecting. Also, her dad came here, and he got a surgery on his hip. He got his hip replacement on us and back to his country. And this is what's going on just in my little vision. Can you imagine what's really happening? It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
Dennis, Trump is convinced, and he's not the only one. There are many, okay, myself included, but Trump in particular, says if we just solve the illegal alien issue, our healthcare in terms of funding for healthcare, no problem. Funding for education, no problem. Our emergency rooms, taking care of that and being able to properly fund it, no problem. Fire, police, infrastructure. That, in other words, if we just stopped all of the fraud, the scamming, as you're talking about, the way they're ripping us off blind, that if we just stopped all of that, that literally the country could pay for everything that it needs and even put a little bit of money away to pay off the debt. Do you agree with Trump?
100%. Awesome.
Dennis, honestly, I can't read it because I can't read the evidence any other way. I can't tell you, I can't tell you horror story after horror story that I know people who've told me or people, who've admitted. They go, oh no, I came here illegally and we're collecting welfare and, all of this we're paying for. And, housing and our sending, our kids to school. And then we sponsor our parents. And then they come. And then they get all kinds of operations. And then we get them set up. And then they go back to the old country. And as you're right, they're getting checks. So, I'm like, so how many checks are we sending out, man? I'm paying for the illegals that are here. I'm paying for the illegals' kids. I'm paying for the illegals' relatives and the parents who end up getting operations on our dime, procedures, you name it. I'm talking heart surgery. This is expensive. As you put it, a hip replacement. This is expensive stuff. And then they go back to their home country and the checks follow them. I'm looking around, I'm like, and we're paying for all this? Well, no wonder we don't have money left over for police. No wonder we don't have enough for the roads. No wonder we don't have enough for basic infrastructure. Because we're being ripped off left, right, and center. That's why Trump is right. Look, this birthright citizenship garbage, you got to cut this off, man. This chain migration, we got to cut it off. Like the whole thing, it's got to stop. Dennis, final word to you, my friend.
bless you, Jeff. Keep up with what you're doing, and you're a big help. And God bless Donald Trump.
We're going to do it. I'm telling you, we're going to take her. Yep. We're going to solve, as Trump said, we got serious problems, but they're all solvable. We're going to restore our country, and we're going to make it great again. Dennis, God bless you. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very, very quick. Please, you need to hear this. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, because I want you to be fully informed and have the complete picture, okay? So there's one small aspect of this birthright citizenship debate that you need to be aware of. What the Democrats and the media argue is that you're going to hear it again and again and again. So you need to be aware what it is. It's a Supreme Court case, 1898, and it's called the Wong case. Wong Kim Arc versus the United States. And in that case, there was a Chinese American citizen or whatever, Chinese American in San Francisco. And the Supreme Court ruled that because he was born to two Chinese immigrants on American soil, he is automatically conferred citizenship. And so the media and the Democrats say, well, there's your Supreme Court precedent. Okay, that's the case. Everything hinges on that case for them. They go, well, there it is. There it is. Birthright citizenship upheld by the Supreme Court in the Wong decision, 1898. Here's what they leave out. Okay? And what they leave out is everything. Wong, yes, was born to two parents in America. And what happened was he went back to China to visit relatives. And on his way back from visiting his relatives in China, he tried to come back into San Francisco, which is where he lived, and his parents lived, and they prevented him, saying, well, no, I'm sorry, you're not a citizen. We don't care if you were born in the United States, you're not a citizen. And so that triggered this court case that went to the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court. Here's what they're not telling you. At the time, at the end of the 19th century, Chinese Americans, anyone of Chinese descent, was excluded by law from being a citizen. They were not given citizenship because the law said they couldn't. People of Chinese extraction or Chinese descent could not be given citizenship. But his two parents were permanent legal residents. And then they had Wong. So Wong was the child, not of illegals. I want to stress that. He was not the child of illegal aliens. The father was a permanent resident. The mother was a lawful, both of them, lawful, legal, permanent residents. In fact, they would have been citizens, but the law prevented them. And so the Supreme Court said, well, hold on. No. If the mother is a lawful resident, legal, permanent, the father is a lawful, permanent, legal resident. And this man is born to both of these parents on American soil. Yeah, he's an American citizen. So, again, the Supreme Court has never ruled on the case involving an illegal alien who happened to have a baby on American soil. The Supreme Court has never, ever issued a ruling. So when the media, they go, Wong, well, the Wong case, Wong, they're like, what? That's the Wong case. And the parents were both essentially, at the time, they were green card holders. They were both permanent legal residents who would have been citizens, except the law prevented them. Well, yeah, of course, then, that child is an American citizen. And that's what the Supreme Court clarified. So now you know literally the entire picture. So this idea that you just, come into our country illegally, or you're here as a tourist, and all of a sudden have a baby, as Dennis put it. You come from Morocco, you come here, you have a baby, then you go back to Morocco, you come back, you have a baby, then the babies are American citizens. What the hell? Now let me sponsor my parents. They come. Well, you get free hip surgery, free operations, and then they go back. This is insane. And the architects, those who wrote and ratified the 14th Amendment, are rolling in their graves. They're looking around saying, this was about freeing the slaves. And before you know it, we've given citizenship to the entire world? And free welfare to boot? Like, what are you guys, nuts? 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Sheldon in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Sheldon, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I think that
Sheldon.
Trump he's still playing four-dimensional chess when the Democrats are playing checkers. And I believe that he knows full well that he's going to go to the Supreme Court and win this. And I also believe that he is smart enough to know that there are a list of jobs and that we need workers to do those jobs, and there are American citizens that won't do them. So I believe that once he has stopped all of this, he will then create some path, some way for people to come into this country, do the jobs that need to be done. He'll also probably give a tax break to employers who hire them. That benefits our economy, stimulates things. And when those people finally do become citizens coming through the door the front way, guess who wins? The Republican Party, because those people are going to vote for Donald Trump or his party because he gave them the advantage, the option to come here and live in the greatest country in America. And I think what will happen is it'll flip the Democrats on their head. They thought bringing all these illegals in would help them. Trump's playing long-term. He's not playing next week. He's not playing next year. He's playing long-term. And I believe, Jeff, 20, 30 years from now, our grandkids will look back on the Trump presidency as a Reagan presidency or a Lincoln presidency, because I believe he is building this country the way it was intended to be built.
It's an historic presidency. You can see that. Yeah. I mean, again, knock on wood. He's got a lot of enemies. He had 2 assassination attempts. He's overturning the entire liberal regime. The globalist, open borders, liberal regime. He's attacking it on every front. He's ripping it out root and branch. That's what he's doing. And you're right. It's a profound presidency that's going to reverberate for generations to come. And I like the way you're thinking, Sheldon, because I think you're right. Look, Trump says this all the time, and people misunderstand him. He says, I want the best. And people think, oh, you just want engineers. Or, you just want, investors or IT specialists or lawyers and doctors. It's like, no. I mean, I want the best. I work with construction people all the time. I want hard workers. So I don't want illegals, A, because they're illegal, but B, because many of them are on welfare and mooching off the system. We don't need that kind of quote-unquote immigrant. We don't need that. What we need are people who want to work, like most of the immigrants that came before. Blood, toil, and tears with the sweat off their brow. Honestly, like my father. I mean, it was Canada, but, like my mother. My father, as you know, Sheldon, passed away, was it 3 weeks ago now? And I've been thinking about him a lot. I just can't help it. It's just, memories just keep flooding back to you. Sheldon, and I say this with the utmost respect and gratitude to my father, for many years of my childhood, and I'm not asking for pity, I'm just giving an observation, I hardly saw my dad. Really. Like, I'll tell you the memory that keeps coming back to me. It's about 8:30 at night. My mother put me to bed always at 8 o'clock, okay? I was maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. I'm going to school. And I could hear my father park the car in the garage. The garage opens. He comes in, and he's walking up the stairs. And I can hear him and my mother speaking, and they give a kiss. And then my mother would then, at that time, she still spoke to him a little bit in Croatian. Okay, later it was always English, but at the time, her English wasn't the best, so they would go to Croatian sometimes. And she would say to him, your supper is ready. I've kept your supper warm. And my dad was, a bit more old school, European, a bit more old world. So he wasn't that affectionate with the kids. I mean, he showed his love through his action. But I remember as a young boy, I missed my dad because he was working overtime. He left at 6 o'clock in the morning. He started work at 6:30. He came home at 8:30 at night to put a roof over our head. My mother had a car, which was a big deal in those days. He wanted to make sure we always ate, always had a warm meal, everything we needed. He wanted to be a provider. He literally worked 14-hour days, 6 days a week. And I remember, and I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. I was like, my instinct was, I want to get out of bed and give my dad a kiss and a hug. But I was too, afraid is not the word. My dad just wasn't that kind of guy. And so I was afraid, maybe he'd think I'm being silly or I'm being overly sentimental, or my dad would just snap at me and say, hey, it's past your bedtime. Go to bed. What are you doing? So I wouldn't do it. And so I remember the bit of both I felt bad for my dad that he worked so hard that I could never see him. And I felt a little sad because I wanted to give him a hug and a kiss, but I wasn't sure if my dad would appreciate it or wanted it or approve of it because I was past my bedtime. So I'm just telling you, that's the image that keeps flooding to my mind. My dad was a worker, man. My mother was a worker. And the immigrants that came to the United States, to Canada, from Eastern Europe, from Poland, from Italy, from Ireland, the Jews, I could go on and on. Man, they worked. Sheldon, I swear to you, it was a shame for my father he never took welfare. Ever. My mother, never. A government handout, I remember growing up, that was a shame. Now, if you were laid off, if there was an economic recession or a crisis, yeah, of course, you need unemployment insurance. But to deliberately mooch the system? For my father to see an able-bodied young man or young woman, and there's jobs aplenty, sitting in the house, listening to music, drinking beer, and doing nothing? Honest to God, it was a scandal. They were genuinely repulsed. They were revolted. Like, you're a freaking parasite. You're a bum. That's what my dad used to call him. You're a bum. You're a bum. And my dad would be the first to say, if they were an immigrant, that's not the kind of immigrant we need. Get the hell out. Now, that's what my dad and Trump, similar in age. My dad was 81 when he passed away. Trump is 78, okay? So, pretty much the same generation. Hey, come on, make something of yourself in life. Work, contribute, be productive, pay taxes, work hard, provide for your family, love your country. Take advantage of all the opportunities and freedoms you have and be grateful. But this, to just come and take and take and take. And notice, Sheldon, how grateful the old immigrants used to be. How grateful. Mwah, mwah. They kissed the American flag. They kissed the ground. Do these new illegals, do they look grateful to you? They don't look grateful to me. They don't even say thank you. Here, if you want, I'll play the Haitian, that gangbanger again. He's F Trump, Biden forever. He's dealing drugs and murdering people in our community. And he's basically telling us to go F ourselves. So, no, Trump wants the best. And he means by the best is your character. And I agree with you. He is going to have a lot of legal immigrants come in. And there's a lot of really good legal immigrants. And they're going to come from Brazil. And they're going to come from Latin America and Mexico and other places around the world. But you're going to do it legally. And you're going to come here to work and to contribute. And those are going to be Republican voters. To the illegals that are mooching and exploiting us, taking advantage of us. blank off. We don't need you. We don't want you. 9:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. All right, Trump now goes for the knockout blow. He's written an executive order that would end or at least severely restrict birthright citizenship, commonly known as anchor babies. Let me ask you, the great audience of Kuhner Country, should illegal aliens, those who come into our country illegally, and then have children, should those children be conferred automatic U.S. citizenship? The left says it's the 14th Amendment. The establishment says it's who we are as Americans. I say it's disgusting and insulting, and that Trump is right to try to take this to the courts and have the Supreme Court finally rule on this issue. Do you agree or disagree with anchor babies? 617-266-6868. Is someone born in the United States simply by virtue of their birth an automatic U.S. citizen? Paula in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Paula, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. You know, my friends and I are doing that Trump dance, and I have a friend who's here legally, and you know what? Outraged by what these illegals get. And you know what, Jeff? I just love it, because didn't Tom Homan give Maura Healey and Wu the middle finger when he went to Boston and grabbed two illegals? I just love this. And you know what? I've said for a long, long time, what right do you have to come into this country, have a baby, and they become citizens? And the fact that these illegals come in, the kids can't speak English. We have special needs kids that don't get services, but we give services to illegal kids, ELL. This is outrageous. And you know what? I am loving this. I've said this for a long time. When I left New York in the 70s, it was English and Spanish. You come to this country, learn the language. I am tired. I work in retail. I hear it all. We are a third world nation with this language stuff. You want to be an American? You came to this country, assimilate, come into our country, learn the language. Enough is enough is enough. The Trump dance, I'll stand on the top of the roof of my house and do that dance. God bless this man, because he's got the guts. They screwed him the first time, and he said, I'm not coming back for screwing the second time. And look at what he did in Davos yesterday. He gave them the middle finger. Don't you just love this? America's coming back. I mean, I got to tell you, he told them to their faces, Paula. It was beautiful. He told all of these globalist billionaires to their face, America is back. It's going to be America first. I'm going to prioritize America, our economy, our people, our interests, our needs. And if you don't like it, there's the door. Paula, it was a masterclass, an absolute masterclass. No, Paula, look, I want to, maybe you can ask your friend, your legal immigrant friend, because I'm a legal immigrant as well, right? I'm a naturalized American. But ask every legal immigrant, when you are blessed to be pregnant, okay, or your wife or whoever, your partner, and you go to the hospital, tell me, is it free? When you have the baby, the labor, is it free? Is the hospital stay free? Is the doctor free? Do you get a translator, a paid translator? I'm just curious, because I'm telling you, that's what illegals get. Tell me, when they put you, then do they give you a free house or a free apartment? Tell me, to all the legal immigrants out there, people like me, tell me, did the government give you a free Section 8 or a free rent? Did they ever? How about free utility bills? All paid for. Did they ever give you a $2,000 prepaid Visa card? How about catered meals? Yeah, $64 a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No, I never got that. How about free dry cleaning? How about literally put you up in a hotel and free maid service? I never got that. Did you get that? I'm sorry. I have to pay for my own health care. I have to pay for my own kids' health care. My kids, American kids,
honestly, many generations through their birth parents, they never get free health care. They don't get free education. I got to pay taxes. I pay taxes through the nose. So tell me, why then are illegals given more rights, more benefits, more privileges than legal immigrants? Forget American citizens, okay? Than legal immigrants or naturalized Americans. Immigrants who came here, became Americans the right way. So think of the message we're sending to the world. That's why they keep coming. It's no mystery. Why, Jeff, why are they coming wave after wave? It doesn't matter who's in office. Yes, with Biden, it got much worse. But why are they coming? Well, if you were living in anywhere else in the world, you're crazy not to come. Think of, hey, they'll treat us better than they treat their own. All we got to do is get in there. And hey, if we can get, if I can get you knocked up, honey, and you have that baby, whoa, we're set for life. Hey, Welfareville, here we come. It's a magnet, and that's what's going to kill this country if we don't stop it and choke it off. That's why Trump is saying, I'm willing to go to war as in legal war. I'm willing to go, constitutional legal war if I have to. I don't care how many judges block this. If I got to take it to the Supreme Court, I'm going to take it to the Supreme Court. Because another generation or two of this, there won't be an America left. Agree, disagree, your calls next. 9:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay, I'll go to all of our calls, I promise. But first, joining us now, as she always does at this time, the co-founder, CEO, president of Kelly Financial Services. And yes, that is her wonderful name, Kelly. Kelly, how are you?
Good morning, Jeff. I am good. Retirement should be your golden years, a time to enjoy life. But with 2025 already here, do you have a solid income plan in place? Inflation, market changes, and unexpected expenses can impact your savings. At Kelly Financial, our advisors can build a retirement plan that protects your lifestyle and your legacy. We'll help you maximize your Social Security benefits, manage your investments wisely, and recommend strategies that will prevent you from outliving your savings. We also have a free investor guide called Your Retirement Income Planning Checklist, which could help you build a smart, step-by-step retirement income strategy. For the guide or for a free consultation with a Kelly advisor, give us a call or email kelly@kellyfinancial.org. Jeff, I will continue this conversation with our Kelly advisors tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Safe Money Strategies Radio. Do tune in or go to our website for our radio rewind. Jeff, have a wonderful weekend. My best to Grace and the kiddos.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, Kelly. Stay warm. To all of you out there, if you want to have a free retirement consultation or get a copy of their free guide, I urge all of you to do it. Call 888-800-1881, 888-800-1881, or you can email Kelly herself, kelly@kellyfinancial.org, kelly@kellyfinancial.org. 617-266-6868. Edward in Milford. Thanks for holding, Edward, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. I've been listening to you since the day you came on the air, and first time calling. Someone called earlier. Oh, thanks. Someone called earlier and said something about the housing. I actually know the property management company who facilitates a majority of this stuff, and I'm not sure if I should say it on the air or talk in private, but, the owners of this company had ties.
Edward, just to protect you, because I don't want to get you in trouble, don't give a name, don't give anything, just tell the audience what you're seeing, what's happening, what's really happening with these so-called quote-unquote migrants and how they're being treated. Please, go ahead, Edward.
I haven't worked for that company in over 10 years, and I left when I found out what was going on with it. But the state and federal subsidies that they would receive in the push to bring these people in to the property management companies, and they were in probably about 70 properties they managed in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire, and had ties to high-level federal Congress people, as well as state officials, in which they would receive these subsidies. So that's all I can kind of share without giving this company.
I understand. Edward, ballpark, how much were they getting a month in subsidies?
Because I was on the technical side of the house, so I had absolute access to their infrastructure from a technology point of view.
Oh, I got you. So you can't give us a specific dollar amount. But you're saying, look, these were generous subsidies, correct?
Yeah, I mean, whatever subsidies that they get for housing, to help pay their rent. At the time, I'm pretty sure it wasn't full rent, and I did own property myself around that time, and I was aware that for housing they were given about $1,250 per month. And
that's
that was
unbelievable. $1,250 a month.
But it would pay a good portion of it. So you take that, and then you take and then they get their, SNAP benefits.
Sure.
They're all set.
Yeah,
and the other
food, of course. Their food is all taken care of. Of course. Of course, Edward. Of course. Hey, nothing but the best for these illegals. Edward, how did they treat the properties? I'm sure they were nice properties, at least at the beginning. So they're given all these subsidies. They're given all, basically free housing or highly subsidized housing, all this free food. How did they treat the properties? How did they behave? And what was their attitude? I'm just curious. Were they grateful? Were they, thank you, this is great, I can't believe we're being treated like this? We come from these third world countries with grinding poverty, and here we're, we got a beautiful apartment, beautiful setup, a couch and furniture and food and a TV, and, we're set up, we're gold. I'm just curious, how did they treat their properties, and what was their attitude overall?
Because, like I said, I was on the technical side.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
But there were numbers of property managers, and all these big complexes that they put up. I'm pretty sure this company has a hand in managing these properties, as they've done with several properties, and they're huge properties. It's not like just a house on the street. These are big complexes that they take management of.
It's unbelievable. So, in other words, there was big money involved in bringing illegals into our state, into Rhode Island, into New Hampshire, and obviously across the country. I mean, so all these perverse incentives to keep flooding our country with illegal aliens. Edward, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868. Oh, no, I guarantee you they trashed the place. I guarantee you. Why? Because I've been told over and over and over. I can't tell you. The hotels we put them up in? Here, all of you that have blown the whistle, am I wrong? The motels, the hotels, they trash them. They drink. They do drugs. They party till 3 a.m. I could go. Food everywhere. Half-eaten sandwiches. Plates half-eaten. It's a stinking mess. And no, you get the middle finger. That's what you get the middle finger. That's the gratitude. 617-266-6868. Lisa in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Lisa, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Lisa.
Monday was a beautiful day, wasn't it?
Oh, my God. One of the best days of my life. Seriously.
I'm still
one of the best days of my life.
Smiling over it. But let me tell you this quick, because I know you have other callers. I have like living proof of several stories, but I will share this one. I was a lead in the census back in 2010, and I ran a street crew, and we obviously counted the people. And I used to run it out of my house. And I became friendly with one of the census workers. And she'd come to me one night and she said, you know, so-and-so has my census. I would be more comfortable if you did it. And I said, okay. So I took it and we did it. But I had known her, got to know her over the couple of months that we had worked together. I knew she was married and I knew she had 2 kids and she drove a beautiful car. And she was lovely. She was a lovely lady. She had a full-time job. So I was doing it and I was going as it was fundamental because I knew, and she stopped me and she said, no, just the 2 of us. And I said, oh. And she said, my husband already did his census in Everett. And this was out of Boston. And I said, oh. And so I said, oh, I misunderstood. I thought you guys live together. She goes, well, we do. He subsidizes his apartment. So, like, they weren't officially married. They lived as husband and wife. They had 2 kids. They lived at the address she was giving me. But he also put in paperwork, and he was a single dad with 1 kid. She was a single mother with 1 kid. And he subsidized his apartment in another town, and they lived together, they worked hard. They were lovely people. But the problem is they learn how to beat the system from the person who beat it before. And it just becomes it almost makes you silly if you don't, because we're so stupid that we'll pay it. And they know they can get away with it. Another quick story, lovely, lovely, lovely Vietnamese girl, had a beautiful wedding, everything. She was able to buy a house under her, you know, with the benefit from a mortgage company because she was an immigrant. And I said, how can you do that? You guys are married. You already have a house. And she said, no, we had a wedding, but we never got our marriage license. So for the state, they weren't married, but under their church they were. And that happens times a million. So they've learned how to beat the system, but the system is beatable, and they make it beatable on purpose. So you can't almost blame the people that are walking over the border because Joe Biden welcomed them in and said, we'll give you money and food and shelter. So you really can't blame the people. You have to blame the government and the state because they made it.
No, Lisa, you're right. Ultimately, look, I would even go further. I think we have to blame ourselves as a country. You know, I mean, if someone keeps ripping you off, I'm sorry, it's you. I don't mean you as in you, Lisa, but I mean, you know, as the person being ripped off. And you're right, they're double dipping. And they're renting out apartments. They get 2 apartments. They live together in one. They rent out the other. What they also do is they work under the table. So that's a couple of checks. And then they collect multiple other checks from the government. And their point is, why aren't all of you doing this? 9:48 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Phil in Salem. Thanks for holding, Phil, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff. A fellow Croat like yourself. My grandparents came from what was back then the Austro-Hungarian Empire, 1919. Wow. And one came in legal, the other one came illegal. The illegal was caught, thrown out, but because he had children and was married to a U.S. citizen, he had to wait 6 months and came in through Port of Halifax via Canada. So I actually guess I have some Canadian roots like yourself. The thing is this, both of my grandparents who worked had to show a check at the police precinct every week to show they were gainfully employed. They had to have a sponsor that vouched for them, and they had to show that they could not, they were told they could not receive federal assistance under any circumstances for 10 years. That law is still on the books, yet it has never been enforced for the longest time. So there's a double standard. Number 2, they worked like dogs, as you know, because they were so happy to be American. I remember asking my grandfather at the time, back in the 70s, I said, we're Yugoslavian Americans. He said, no, we're not. We're American. My grandmother asked, and I'm going to get emotional, she asked one thing, that when she died, that she would be buried with an American flag. You don't get better than that. That's how much love they had for this country, because it gave them the opportunity to get out of that hellhole run by a king and then by the communists. And my gosh, they wanted to assimilate. They spoke very little Croatian, maybe between themselves in private, but when we got together for Christmas and Easter, English and English only. Now, the point you make about wanting to go to the Supreme Court, I had an idea. I'm not a storefront lawyer, but I was a law student before I became a chemistry major. I guess I just didn't like the way the law was, but I love the Constitution. Now, if you're born in this country, you're a citizen, but you are a minor. You cannot vote. So if the parents are illegal, the parents should be thrown out, the child remanded to their custody, and when the child turns 18, they can come back as a citizen.
I love it.
How's that for an idea?
I love it. No, Phil, I love it. See, look at that Croatian mind of ours. Look at this. We're almost reading each other's thoughts. That's what I was thinking in the middle of the show. I was saying to myself, if the Supreme Court, I said, look, what does Trump have to lose, Phil? They're already using these anchor babies. So fight it in court. If the Supreme Court rules against him, well, the situation hasn't changed. So then Trump can say, fine, I've got a definitive ruling from the Supreme Court. I'll tell you what I'll do. Fine. The parents come illegally. They have their anchor baby. No problem. We kick the parents back. We deport them back to their home country. Take the child with you, because we're not going to take care of the child by themselves. That's a war. I'll make the child a ward of the state. And then when the child turns 18, the child can come to America. Even if we did that, Phil, it would discourage so much of this illegal immigration. My friend, you're not 100%. You're 1,000% correct. Phil, please, my fellow Croatian American, please don't be a stranger. Call again. 617-266-6868 is the number. Honestly, I thought it was just me and Bill Belichick. But there's a third one out there in Massachusetts. I'm very happy we found each other, Phil. Okay, this is from Larry on Messenger. And this relates to, look, if you keep allowing yourself to be exploited and used, ultimately, don't blame the person that's using you, blame yourself, right? So this is what Larry wrote on Messenger. Jeff, a saying that I've adopted: no one can take advantage of you without your permission. And you know what Trump is saying? You're no longer going to take advantage of us. The gravy train is over. The days of Uncle Sucker are gone. Uncle Sam is back. Dave in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dave?
Good. You made a comment, I think last week, about some Ukrainian generals that had mansions in those wildfires in the Pacific Palisades. Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Where did you get that info from? Because I haven't seen anything anywhere about it.
Well, I'll get back to you on that, Dave, but I forget where I read it. But the point is, leave aside the generals and the mansions in L.A. just for a second. You got even Ukraine now. I don't know if you saw this story. Massive crackdown on generals because they've been stealing so much money. So you got a problem now with Ukraine. There's billions of dollars. This is the problem Ukraine now has. You've got Trump saying, I want to end the war. And where did all the money go? And Zelensky can't make an accounting of the money. And so now you've got Ukrainian media with Ukrainian stories saying that these generals have been ripping us off, not just us, but the Europeans. But I'll get back to you, Dave. I'll find that story. I'll track it down, and I will get back to you on that.
Had some properties, I think, in England that he's been, like, $1 million properties he's buying, so that's where the money's going.
Sorry, Dave, who was buying properties in England? I'm sorry about that.
Zelensky. I read an article somewhere that he had bought some property in England, like an estate worth $3 or $4 million, and then lots of other people that are in positions of power are spending money on all kinds of frivolous stuff like that. So that's where a lot of the money's going. It's being spread around.
Oh, no, they've stolen a lot of money. It's coming out now. There's a lot of money. And remember, Dave, remember when Rand Paul just asked for an auditor? That's it. Remember, he said, look, I'll vote for the aid. Remember that? He said, I'll vote for it. He goes, I'll vote all the aid you want. Can we just get one auditor to track the money? And do you remember the reaction in the Senate? How dare you? You're a traitor. You're a Putin lover. You want Russia to win. And Rand Paul said right away, look at their reaction. They know the money's being stolen and embezzled. And you know why they don't want this auditor? Because the money didn't just go to Zelensky and his gang of crooks, including his generals. Kickbacks in Washington, D.C., 10% for the big guy and others in the Senate. The Ukraine war has been a giant money pit, and it's going to turn out to be one of the most corrupt scandals in history. But that's another story for another day. Dave, thank you very much for that call. To all the callers, dynamite job today as always. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.